Hello, I'm Alice Kolonowski, an MPH student at New Mexico State University. This presentation is my final project for MPH 586, Public Health Preparedness and Response. My intent with this project is to stress the importance of proper prior planning when it comes to weather-related disasters. Disasters come in all shapes and sizes, from F1 tornadoes that rip a few branches from trees, tossing them into a single home, to massive Category 5 hurricanes that devastate entire regions, to earthquakes, fires, and floods that displace scores of people. Natural disasters can strike any place at any time. We can plan and prepare for most weather-related disasters. While we may not receive much warning for a tornado, with our recent advances in meteorology, we can pretty well predict where a hurricane is going to make landfall. As long as we are prepared, our chances for survival are much higher. When a disaster strikes, we need to know what is expected of us. What do the officials want us to do? Would you know what to do in an emergency? I focused on 3 important considerations when it comes to preparing for a disaster. The first is evacuation. What if I and my family are asked to evacuate, to leave our homes? Where do we go? When should we get out of our home? How do we get to a safe place? What are the protocols that we need to follow? The second consideration in a disaster is the shelter in place. If we're told to stay put and hunker down, do you know what that means? If we're at home, where do we go? What do we need to do? How do we protect ourselves in a disaster? The third, and in some ways the most important, is the emergency preparedness kit. What does this kit contain? Where can we get it? Where should we store it? What do we need to have in it? And how much is it going to cost? The most important thing to remember about an evacuation is that it is for your safety and for that of your family. Don't hesitate. Get out while you can and stay out until the authorities indicate you can return. Remember, your possessions can be replaced, but your life and the lives of your loved ones cannot. Don't put others in danger either. By remaining in your home, you may need to be rescued, and your rescuers are risking their lives to get you out of a tough spot. Remember, they have families of their own that they want to get home to. Now, you've just been told you've got to get out right now. What should you grab? How about those medical supplies, such as prescription medications? You'll need disaster supplies, a flashlight, batteries, radio, first aid kit, bottled water. You'll need clothing and bedding, enough for every member of your family, and take along extra if you live in a cold climate. You need the keys to your cars and to the place where you're going, if you happen to know that. And, of course, grab up your pets and your children. If you have a little bit of extra time, such as a few hours, you can grab those additional items. Important papers such as insurance policies, birth certificates, social security cards. You can take the time to turn off the electricity to your home. You can turn off the water. You can bring that lawn furniture and the trash cans and the children's toys inside. That'll keep them from blowing onto other people's property and causing damage. If you have days of warning, such as in the case of a hurricane, that will allow you to more thoroughly protect your home and your other belongings. You can fill those sandbags in case of flooding. You can move televisions, computers, and other electronic equipment to higher levels in your home. You can cover your windows with shutters or plywood. You can move your expensive furniture completely out of the house to a storage area that's out of harm's way. You can inventory your possessions for insurance purposes. Just remember, an evacuation is for you, and it is to keep you safe. If you are under evacuation warnings, make sure to keep your car filled. Remember to follow the designated evacuation routes as you are leaving town. If you are in a hurricane-prone area, they will be marked with special signs, such as the one in the picture. They probably won't mention anything about beer, though. You should plan for heavy traffic, since everyone else wants to get out of harm's way. Another thing to remember, most evacuation routes are major highways, which will probably be rerouted so that traffic flows out of the area on all lanes. You won't be facing any incoming traffic, such as in this picture. All lanes will be traveling outbound. To recap, you need to follow those designated evacuation routes. You need to go as far away as possible. You need to prepare to stay away until you are safe. You need to plan for all your family members, including your pets. You need to contact relatives and friends as soon as you are safe. And you need to listen for official broadcasts concerning the emergency. A shelter-in-place advisory may be issued for many reasons. One of the most common is in the event of severe weather, such as a tornado outbreak. Plan ahead and choose an area within your home that is intended to protect you during an emergency. This should be a room that has few doors and windows. In the case of severe weather, such as tornadoes, it should be at the lowest level of your home. It should accommodate your entire family, including the pets. It should also have access to running water if at all possible. If you are not at home during an emergency, businesses are required to have designated areas that are available to people who need to take shelter in an emergency. I am sure you all saw the pictures of the people in Joplin, Missouri. They had taken shelter inside the coolers at a convenience store during the tornado that nearly destroyed that small community. If you are in your car, try to get to a sheltered area. If that is not possible, you may have to remain in your car until the danger passes. As we saw from the Oklahoma City tornado outbreak, this is not an optimal solution, and you may put your life at risk. So, just what does shelter in place really mean? If a shelter-in-place advisory is issued for severe weather or tornadoes, take immediate shelter in a room at the lowest level of your location. Remember, businesses have areas where you can take shelter if you are away from home. If you are in your car, seek shelter. You may have to stay in your car. If that happens, try to get into a sheltered area such as a ditch. If possible, listen to a radio for updates on the situation. Wait for the all-clear signal before you leave your location. An emergency preparedness kit is a set of supplies that will help you and your family to survive in the event of an emergency. If you're unable to leave your home because of a disaster, you will need to have food, water, and personal care items for all members of your family. You will also need flashlights and a radio to keep track of the situation. A NOAA radio is very important for weather-related emergencies. Wow, that sounds like a lot of money. Yes, it can be expensive, but if you build your kit over time, the expense can be limited. Pre-prepared and nicely packaged kits are available through many different companies, but these are very pricey. If you buy your items locally, you should be able to limit the cost. Your kit should contain enough supplies for you and your family for at least 3 days. While that may sound like a long time, even an emergency that affects just a single community can disrupt your life for several days. Damage to streets and roads can prevent trucks from delivering to the local supermarket. Power outages may keep businesses from opening their doors to sell their products. Businesses may even have been destroyed and are unable to provide the services they once offered. Just remember, until things get back to normal, you may need to plan on fending for yourselves for a period of time. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, has developed a list of basic items that should be included in your emergency preparedness kit. Water. At least 1 gallon of water per person per day for both drinking and sanitation. Food. You need at least a 3-day supply of non-perishable food. This can include canned goods that do not need to be heated. Some people actually purchase the military MRE, Meals Ready to Eat supplies. They will last a very long time, but these can be very expensive. A battery-powered radio. A NOAA weather radio with tone alert. Extra batteries for both of these radios. Flashlights, along with extra batteries. A first aid kit. A whistle or other noise-making device to signal for help. Dust masks to help filter contaminated air. Moist towelettes, garbage bags with plastic ties for personal sanitation. Hand tools such as a wrench or pliers to turn off the utilities. A can opener to open the cans of food. Remember, the electricity may be off, so make sure you have a mechanical opener that depends on muscle power, not electrical power, to operate. Some local maps. Other items that FEMA suggests keeping in your kit include prescription medications and glasses, infant formula and diapers if you have babies in your household, extra food and water for your pets, important family documents such as insurance papers and birth certificates. These could be tucked into a waterproof container, cash or traveler's checks and some change, emergency reference materials such as a first aid book, sleeping bags or blankets for each person, clothing, an extra change of clothing including long-sleeve shirt, long pants, and sturdy shoes. Have heavier clothing available if you live in a cold climate. Chlorine bleach with a medicine dropper. Bleach can be used as a water purifier by using 16 drops of bleach to 1 gallon of water. Make sure not to use scented, color-safe,
or bleaches with added cleaning products for this purpose, a fire extinguisher, matches with a waterproof container, feminine supplies and personal hygiene items, mess kits containing plates, plastic utensils, cups, and paper towels, paper and pencils. If you have children, don't forget books, games, puzzles, or other playtime activities for them.
Your emergency preparedness kit can be made portable, so it can be placed in your car if you have to evacuate. You will need many of the same supplies whether you are sheltering in place or evacuating from your home. Your kit should be stored in the same room in your home that you have designated as your home shelter room, so the supplies are easily accessible in an emergency. Package them in plastic bins to make them easy to move to your automobile. If you have limited space, buy containers that fit underneath your bed. With a bit of prior planning, you can have the supplies you need for you and your family to survive a disaster. Weather-related disasters come in all shapes and sizes. How we prepare for an emergency will determine how we are affected by that event. Planning can help us survive in an emergency, and it can make recovering from a disaster just a bit easier if our emergency preparedness kit contains the items we need. Planning is surviving. Though your possessions may be destroyed, your life and the lives of your loved ones are most important. Preparing for a disaster makes it much more likely that you will survive. This concludes my presentation. Thank you. This slide contains the references that I used to create this presentation. This slide contains the photographs that I used to highlight my presentation.